Cheers. What's up? Welcome to Vinyl Happy Hour on YouTube. I am Skylar Davis, owner of Culture Shock Clothing and Records here in Rockford, Illinois, and of cultureshockshop.com, where you can find the records we're talking about and thousands of other new releases. Also in the link below the video at YouTube. Go down and check out the staff picks link to get some of my other hot staff picks that are coming out right now, or some stuff from the video. So this is a weekly video where I like to really break down and just give a little more insight and kind of talk about what's special and interesting about 5 of my favorite releases for the week. It's very hard. If I have time, I'm going to slip a couple more in just because there's so many great releases that keep coming out from new artists and reissues of older classic albums. So let's get right into it, please. Season 5 of Vinyl Happy Hour. We've been doing this for 5 years. I think we're deep into this year. I'm pretty sure episode 25, but it's in the details below. Before I get into some of these other releases, let's talk about what's right out front. Hopefully you're familiar with some of these rappers and producers because they've been in the game a long time. But if you're not, it's cool to jump right in and check out this new release because this is the first time they've actually worked together, I guess, too. So Danger Mouse and Black Thought together for this combination album called Cheat Codes. As you can see, really cool artwork, kind of creepy and weird. It comes, I felt a little lump. It doesn't say anything about it, but it comes with a CD too. So for those of you still rocking CD players, there is a CD. Keep it mobile, take it with you. And this is the indie store exclusive on it's kind of somewhat translucent or transparent red vinyl. I love that it's a color that goes with the green and red theme like that. I like when things match up together. You've got a printed inner sleeve too with the lyrics as well on the back. Nice jacket. But Danger Mouse, a producer who's worked with lots of artists. I mean, from Beck and Jay-Z and stuff like that. Oh yeah, MF Doom and stuff like that too. There are some other artists rapping on here with Black Thought. A lot of you should know Black Thought as the leader of The Roots. I think him and Danger Mouse have been doing rap and producing and making hip-hop for 20-30 years probably. So they're old veterans of the game. But this is a really fresh release because it really takes it down and kind of in a New York way almost strips it down. There's just like some good basic beats, some cool older samples and funk mixed in with the rap. But I actually am really drawn to this Because track that features Joey Badass on it, and it's a banger. It's got a really cool kind of this retro funk feel or something like that. It's a cool album. It's a good rap. This is the indie store exclusive. If you'll notice, like some things are color vinyl or indie store exclusives, meaning you can only get this version through an independently owned record store. So grab that one if you can. Usually they're the same price even as the regular vinyl. It's just a more limited version. If they sell out, though, usually they're limited. You know, we will hopefully have black vinyl available or something else. But I just want to highlight that and talk about, like, this is kind of my jam of the week. I've been really enjoying this album. It's just got that kind of that more old school hip hop feel, kind of a little more stripped down, introspective too. And there's a track on there too that somehow features MF Doom. You know, R.I.P. I don't know if they were working on this together a while back and it finally came out, but that's the Bailey's track. There's a lot of good tracks on here and cool, different artists and rappers working together with them on that. But Cheat Codes from Danger Mouse and Black Thought. Danger Mouse is like labeled first, so we'll keep it that way. So really cool album. Here's another one. I'm kind of going with some stuff that's a tiny bit more obscure if you're not, especially if you're not keeping up with like alternative hip hop and stuff like that. This is the newest release from Brockhampton called Roadrunner, and it's their 6th album already. Really cool kind of alternative rap group, just to keep things interesting. I like to hear different people rapping on the album and stuff like that too. Keeps it changed up. Can't remember off the top of my head if this is an indie store exclusive or not, but as you can see, it's on white vinyl, double LP on white vinyl too. So it's a nice long album. There's a lot of tracks, really change it up. But let's talk a little bit more about the packaging. As you can see, it's a nice double LP gatefold. But I was really impressed with the photo book that it comes with. So you get a lyric book and a photo book with this Brockhampton release. So this is all of the words from that. There's some extra pictures kind of mixed in with it too. This is a full lyric book, really nicely done. Really nice, all color, stapled together, 30 pages probably. And then the photo book, it's fun to be listening to the album and taking a look through here, just checking out some of the photo sessions and photo shoots that they did to go with the album. Just really nice packaging, for a really nice price too. Just a cool group. Definitely, like I said, kind of more of this kind of modern alternative hip hop group. or hip hop clan, whatever you want to call it, because they got a bunch of guys all working together and all kind of change up the beats and stuff like that. Definitely another band group that I've really gotten into over the last few years. So it's cool to hear something fresh from them. It actually dropped or was streaming quite a while ago, but finally the vinyl release is out. Vinyl's been very hot. That's another reason why you'll hear us talking a lot about order it when you can or pre-order an upcoming release, because with the pressing plants getting backed up, some stuff has been taking a while. So this is a very interesting release from Dorian Electra. This isn't a brand new release though. This is something that, came out a little bit ago, but I think it came out 2019. But look at this color vinyl, this blue and white splatter, cloud looking stuff, or streaky, whatever you want to call it. Dorian Electra, very electronic, very interesting. Also working with Dylan Brady. A lot of you might recognize that name or know if you know the group 100 Gex. So this is a very strange album. It's electronic, hyper pop. It's not as glitchy though as like 100 Gex. This has a lot more melodic, chill synth wave parts, and like just a lot of good melodic vocals too. A lot of things are being used with that hyper overdub vocal, vocoder and auto tuning and stuff like that. Dorian Electra is probably a very strange, fun, interesting individual too, as you can tell from the get up and the look. Very flamboyant, as the title of the album is called. The first track, Mr. To You, is kind of funny, very tongue-in-cheek stuff also. But I love hearing these types of like this electronic synth music. It's just really good music to hang out to and listen to and get your day done with. But the sound quality of it too is nice. There's a lot of really deep bass and synthesizers. But the mixture of what makes it this kind of hyper pop or strange kind of throwback is some of the keyboard sounds. Like there's like a bass guitar keyboard sound that's distinct. It's like these weird 90s keyboards. There's a lot of older sounds, and I don't want to say this and make it sound like it's a bad thing, because I actually love this album. It's a banger. But I almost hear some stuff that you would hear on like, it's hard to say without laughing, but like the better parts of like Backstreet Boys or like Cher albums of the 90s, or even Michael Jackson albums of like the 90s, when there's like this electronic dance synth mix going on to it. But that's not to its disadvantage. That's what makes it so familiar sounding and so interesting with this really modern pop electronic appeal. So Dorian Electra has a few albums out too, and has worked with some other kind of synth pop and some of that glitch and hyper pop stuff. And the involvement with Dylan and stuff like that from 100 Gex is really cool too. And that's kind of what first drew me to Dorian Electra. But I'm glad that I found them and have been listening to it. And, like I said, this is a reissue. I think the original one from a couple years ago was a little harder to get your hands on. So it got a special limited reissue. So check that out if you can. Let's just move along. This is some other stuff. I was actually confused about this Ghost Funk Orchestra release at first, because we have another indie store exclusive from this too. I thought this was a new release, but this is actually, it comes with a download code. I was like, there's something in there. Not a lot to see on the artwork. It's probably hard to see the little cityscape and the lettering on there. But this is the beginnings of Ghost Funk Orchestra. So this is their early EPs, Nightwalker and Death Waltz, put together on one. They did 2,500 copies of it on this red vinyl. So let's show that off. Ghost Funk Orchestra is cool because they sound like their name. There is something very kind of ghostly and dreamy feeling, but just this kind of mostly instrumental kind of funk and kind of drifting guitar and stuff like that. Just a really chill dub experience, mostly instrumental. There are some vocals on a couple tracks. This came out like 2016. I forgot to check, this might have never been out on vinyl. They have a couple albums out on LP and vinyl, but this is their early EPs, so it's really cool packaging. It's nice that they were putting both EPs on, both sides of the record, so it's like a full album of music essentially. But I was confused at first, thinking it was a new release from them. And then, let's see, this is on Karma Chief Records, produced by Seth Applebaum. It's a really cool group. If you haven't heard Ghost Funk Orchestra, might as well start in their beginning. So this is a good one to get into. And I had actually never really listened to this music. I know their last couple of albums, so this took me back to the beginning. That's my quick five, though. Like I said, there's a link in the bottom to cultureshockshop.com. I can mention a couple other things that came out just because they might not get a mention in a future video. Pavement, Slanted, Enchanted. Slanted and Enchanted from Pavement came out in 94, I think. Wait, no, it must be 92. It's the 30th anniversary, yeah. So let's see, 30 years ago was 92. This is another, just a kind of an essential part of alternative indie rock, you know, kind of almost grunge in a way. Whereas grunge kind of sounds more to that date, this is kind of more experimental. This is on red, white, and black splatter vinyl. This album defined and ruined a generation and a genre, depending on who you ask. Okay, it's kind of a fun little sticker from Matador Records on there. But very influential to a lot of other indie rock bands, experimental bands. Of course, a lot of Chicago area bands and stuff like that seem to have picked up on a lot of that sound. And so Pavement, that was a great album though. Should I mention? Yeah, let's just mention a couple things. We're going, and like I said, if you ever want to shoot us a message or ask questions too, you can do so on our YouTube or find our social media. This is just another kind of obscure one. This is just kind of some of the love I have for like some of the reissues coming out, because even some of this more obscure stuff like Nucleus. This was a 1974 band. Ian Carr was the trumpeter for this. This is some kind of, you know, nothing special about the vinyl or anything. It's just hard to find, especially in the States. Looks like it's on like this Vertigo label. Really cool jazz rock. I had always kind of considered this to be more psychedelic stuff or even crowd rock or something like that. But it's really just jazz rock. This is more of that European-inspired, mostly instrumental jazz rock. And I consider this to be like inspired by kind of directly from the Miles Davis Bitches Brew era of jazz fusion and jazz rock. It's just a really cool album. I've actually been going down the rabbit hole. You know how you get when you get into certain bands. There's Solar Plexus from Ian Carr Nucleus. So there's some reissues of some of this stuff that's been coming out. Here's another Nucleus piece on colored vinyl even. And then Ian Carr had put the band together, and some of the members had gone on to, you know, work on other bands or even with King Crimson and stuff like that. But Ian Carr, Belladonna, another great album. He did some solo stuff. Most of this good section of this jazz rock and things like that is from 70 to 75. It's definitely worth picking up and finding out more about Nucleus and Ian Carr, especially if you like jazz but aren't committed to it being like a full-on, you know, bop era jazz. You want kind of more of the jazz rock or jazz fusion. This has a lot of guitars and drums and stuff with it, so it's going to be more of like a rock band. So I'm just interested to see the amount of not only new releases coming out or indie store exclusives, but how much more obscure and harder to find older stuff you can get brand new copies of. So it's pretty cool, and it helps turn you on to all sorts of music. And that's what we love doing. So I hope you enjoy the Vinyl Happy Hour. Please give it a like. Subscribe to the YouTube channel here for Culture Shock Clothing and Records if you haven't. And we will keep doing a new one every single week, every Thursday for the new Friday releases. Cheers, guys. Thank you.